she went to a restaurant called Joffrey's and apparently ordered a meal. And when it was time to pay, they said she didn't have the money to pay, which was our red flag. She just had got her income tax. She had $5,000 in her savings.
This isn't normal behavior for her.
Right.
Something's up right away, you know. And by the way, as you tell this story, I also wonder if this is a bias against mental health, people who suffer from mental health issues, as well as an African-American issue.
It's increasing. It's increasing. Every time you read the newspaper, an officer shot a person suffering from bipolar and didn't know how to handle the case.
Yeah.
But the same thing with Mitrice, you know, when her mother got on the phone, it's like, this is not Mitrice. She's never been arrested. She's a 4.0 honor student. She never gotten in any trouble before, so we knew something was wrong. And officers wanted to, oh, you have to wait 72 hours. We're like, no.
Wait 72 hours for what?
To file a missing persons report.
Oh, my goodness. And you know there's somebody, so I imagine that would not be a racial thing. That's some sort of misfire. That's a bad judgment.
Right,
yeah.
and definitely with all the scenarios that led up to that was telling us something was wrong, they just kept arguing with us. And her mother said, you know what, if you're going to detain my daughter over this citation, that's fine, I'll come pick her up in the morning. But they assured her that she was not going to be released till 6 in the morning, and she was going to be fine. Her mother called that office 5 times that night.
Yeah.
And they had released her. They were still telling her that she was still in the precinct when she had been released at 12:38.
I'm going to, Don, I know you were shaking your head rather vigorously there. This sounds like a lot of misfires from law enforcement, not a racial issue. You agree with that. I'm going to give you a chance to respond to that, and then I'm going to ask Lauren why we as media didn't pick it up right then. But go ahead, Don.
Yeah, I do think that, you know, I think this is a law enforcement issue that they just, you know, shouldn't be beaten up too much on this, but there should have been some response there as well.
Yeah, and I almost feel like it's a mental health bias more than a racial bias. But Lauren, the racial bias then kicked in because these guys couldn't go to the media and say, would you please tell our story? No one would pick it up.
That's the problem. I mean, this is a story. It has so many, you know, issues that are coming to light. Like you said, mental health issues, the police, things going wrong, her being released and no one knowing it. I mean, what a story this was. And yet, probably 90% of America knows nothing about it. And it's a shame because, you know what? We have to learn from these errors. These parents were on top of it. This mom was calling the precinct. And you know what? No one knew where her daughter was. It's unfortunate. It's unacceptable. And the only way we can ensure that it doesn't happen again is for us to talk about it, cover it, and bring it to light.
And Lauren, thank you for being such an advocate and bringing so much to this conversation. Don, thank you. And Michael, I just, man, last word.
I just want to say in closing, the reason why it is a racial issue is because when Mel Gibson and Charlie Sheen was released out of the same precinct, they drove them home because they're white. They let Mitrice go out the front door with no purse, no cell phone, no car.
And they're wealthy and they're celebrities, and that's another layer of bias here,
Thank
too.
You.
Yeah.
I just had to get that in.
Anything you want to get in, I'm all about it. So I appreciate you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
I'm so sorry. Thank you, guys. Paula Dean, we're talking about her now.